What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're taking a look at the Pouch Potato by Daily Carry Co. Not to be confused with the Pouch Potato Mini, which is obviously going to be a decent bit smaller, but also really just a completely different style of pouch. This one has full clamshell opening, ton of internal organizations, and the Mini is really the exact opposite of that. Now the obvious difference also is going to come to that size. This one's a pretty mid to large size pouch at 6.5 inches wide by about 4.5 inches tall. With the current loadout, we're looking at a little bit over 2 inches thick, so definitely not something I'd want to drop in my pocket. This is more in a sling or backpack style pouch, but really works well in that capacity. Now in terms of price, I'd say this is mid to budget priced, especially compared to similar style pouches. You can get this one on Amazon right now for $35. And on their website directly for $43. So it does seem to be a better deal on Amazon, and that's been pretty consistent anytime I've looked at the price. It seems to be cheaper on Amazon. So that's what I'm going to link to below. But if you do see the Amazon price fluctuating a little bit, which tends to happen, and it gets over $43, may be worthwhile to check out the Daily Carry Co. site. May also be worthwhile to check it out anyway though, because they do sell other stuff like knives, pry bars, and other pouches, titanium toothpicks, things like that. A lot of different EDC gear that not all of it's on Amazon. So if you're going to be bundling them, you might be getting a better deal by going through the site. But historically, what I've seen, it seems to be cheaper on Amazon. So I mentioned some comparable pouches. In terms of ones I've reviewed on the channel, the Notorious EDC AGP or All Good pouch is pretty similar, as is the Magpul DACA, and between those two it's kind of a hybrid of both. The DACA is a little bit bigger, but organization is a mixture of both of them. And then price wise, this is definitely leaning more towards that budget tier. So the Magpul DACA I think is a little bit cheaper at $28, but the Notorious All Good pouch I believe is around $60, and so definitely skewing more towards the bargain price. In terms of materials here, we get a 500D Cordura available in 4 different colors. The blue that you see here, which is kind of a nice navy blue, we have black, orange, and gray, although you don't see a ton of the 500D Cordura because this thing is draped in hook and loop panels or Velcro panels for Ranger eyes and things like that. On the front, we have this 6.5 inch wide one by about 3 inches tall. And so the DCC or Daily Carry Co. one that you see on the upper left, that one does come with the pouch. After that, I just tried to color match, get some black and white from the homies. So we got the Carry Culture, we have the Inky EDC collab with Pocket Filth, Barbarian Brawny, Notorious EDC Cart Sniped, Mikey Daily Carry. And so just fit as many as I could there. Obviously couldn't get all of them on there, but got a bunch on the front. There is a lot more real estate for them on the back, about 6.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall. Makes full use of the back panel for more Velcro. Now I didn't put any on here because I wanted it to be flat for the video. More than likely, since I'm not throwing this in my pocket, I probably would cover this with either patches or maybe some organization options. Because it's so large, it does make a nice spot to put some additional organizers on here. If you're going to be throwing in a bag anyway, maybe you don't care about the bulk, you can put something like these 511 organizers, which have the elastic slots up front as well as that credit card slot on the back. You can probably even fit 2 of these side by side, but a bunch of companies make these. It doesn't have to be 511. They have like this Blue Ridge Overland Gear one, which I think they made for their bum bag, but they do sell separately. I have some from Vertix. They do a lot of their Tactigami. They do holsters and stuff as well, but a lot of organizers in that Tactigami for throwing inside of your backpack, but we'll obviously work with this as well. I just grabbed a handful of them. I probably should have grabbed a different one than this one because I don't know who makes this one, but this one kind of looks like a Viperade or M-Tech organizer, but I don't think it is because I think both those companies probably would have put a tag and this one does not have a tag. So no idea who makes that, but like I said, a lot of companies do, including the 2 that I just mentioned, Viperade and M-Tac. So pretty easy to find if you're looking for them. Now flipping back over, we have 2 compartments, our main clamshell opening compartment as well as this front flat storage option, and both of those are with being secured by what they call military grade zippers, and I interpret that as just not YKK, and indeed they don't say YKK anywhere on them, but they are kind of modeled after the AquaGuard YKK zippers. So far they've been pretty smooth, solid, not getting caught up a lot, and so don't really have an issue with that. If they do become an issue, I will mention that in maybe a comment and pin that comment, but so far not really any concerns. They do have these lanyard pulls with these heat shrink wrapped tubes on there so that they're nice and silent, don't make a lot of noise, which I really appreciate. And like I said, have been super smooth, so it works. This compartment, you're about 3¼ inches tall. You can put slightly taller items in there, maybe up to 3¾ maybe even 4 inches, but do keep in mind you'll have to kind of shimmy them in there to get them over this top zipper section so that you can then zip that closed. But it is a little bit thicker, so it's not completely flat like we see on the front of a lot of pouches where you can't really put anything but like credit cards and small bills and papers and stuff like that. This one has a decent bit of give, and so you can stretch it out. Do keep in mind if you put anything bulky, it's gonna misshape the front of your pouch, so if you care about that, stick with flat items. That's what I went with here. And as always with my pouch overviews, I like to load them full of gear so you can get an idea of the types of gears that fit in these different pockets. But really the focus of these is going to be on the pouch, so I may mention the name, but not really going to go too much detail on them. So have just 2 small flat items in here. First is the Jacob Lundquist Richta, I believe, this titanium beer comb, and it has a bunch of other extra tools on there, and a JRW gear meat tool, and this is exactly what it looks like, a titanium fork. Really cool to have on you in case you don't get utensils wherever you go to eat. Also, the tings on this one happen to be extremely sharp, so you could probably use that as a self-defense tool if you want, but I just like having an extra set of silverware on me or utensils on me in my car so that if I don't get a spork with my meal, I can have something to eat with. So that's all I put in here, but you can see my fingers fit in there pretty nicely. It's not flat or really tight or anything like that. Other compartment is also accessed by the same style of zipper with the same style of zipper pull. There's one more internal pocket with a zipper, and it has a different style of zipper pull, just kind of your more standard, but you don't really hear that rattle or anything because it's packed tight and it keeps it laying flat. So one thing that I would like to see if they ever do like a version 2 of this, I wouldn't mind seeing a second zipper on here, and that does add a little bit of just kind of dangly bits to the pouch, but it gives you the option to open it from either side. And so this one you can only open one direction, which is fine, and kind of folds out like a book. Now inside we have a ton of internal organization. Don't feel like you need to take advantage of all of these like small elastic loops and stuff like that, because you're gonna end up overpacking it, especially like you see I use the back section. These larger sections of elastic are about 1.5 inches wide. These smaller are about 3/4 inch wide. And so when you put something large in the back like I did here, you really can't utilize these front loops. It just doesn't work. It ends up getting too bulky. And so don't feel like you need to fill up every one. You'll see that I really didn't make great use of them at all because I elected to put some larger items in here. So first off, I have a hank in there. I like to put a hank in the middle of a lot of my pouches because it keeps everything separated. This one's for my friend Brandon over at Everyday Adventure Co. Makes some awesome leather gear. Definitely check him out. He did this in collaboration with Awesome Hank, who makes some awesome hanks, so check him out too. But we'll get that out of the way. It does have a microfiber backing, by the way. Get that out of the way and start on our left side, work our way to the right. We'll give the measurements as we go. So we have these 2 netted pockets, similar to what you see on like the Data Crew What a Slider is what they remind me of most. And so those are really the best option for storing larger items. You see the orientation of all of the rest of the organization goes on the shorter direction of the pouch. So this section is only 4.5 inches tall, meaning that you can put gear up to about 4¼ inches and less if you don't want to block the path of the zipper pocket over here. But with this one, because of the orientation, you can get up to about 6¼ inches. And so I took advantage of that with the Griffin or Combat Bead Scout Medic. This is just a small fixed blade that fits in there nicely. It has a really tiny sheath and yeah, fits in there just about perfectly, as you can see. Next to that, I went with the bit bar from Big Eye Design. This has that slide out bit tray and then the 90 and 45 degree turners, pocket clip, full of titanium, really cool bit driver. And those are eating up a lot of the space, so I didn't use this elastic loop or any of these elastic loops here at all because really nothing would fit there with those 2 items there. Above that, I do have the SOG power pint, which is a little bit redundant. It does have that bit driver on here, and so if you need 2 bit drivers, you do have them, but I'm not carrying any spare bits outside of what's stored in that bit bar, but it does give you the pliers and all the other tools that come on the SOG power pint and fit in there really, really nicely. So on this side, we have 2 of the larger elastic loops that are about 1.5 inches long, and then 4 of the smaller 3/4 inch elastic loops. We also have these front pockets. These are about 2 inches wide each, and they go about 2.5 inches, but obviously you can make use of all of that space, maybe even a little bit more than 2.5 inches. I might not go all the way down there, maybe close to 2 3/4 inch. But again, you can go all the way up if you choose to do so. Now on the right side, I did the same thing. I didn't make use of every single elastic loop, kind of skipped a few loops so that it didn't end up getting too bulky. So we'll start on the top. We have the pocket pen. I don't remember what they call this. It's like a red and black carbon fiber. We have a Streamlight. I think this is called the Pocket Mate, yeah. And this is just a key-shaped little flashlight with a hat clip, which is really nice. And it's actually pretty bright for its size and has a little built-in carabiner gate here that you can put that on your key ring on and off really quickly. So I'm going to be testing this one out soon, as I finish testing the one that's currently on my keychain. Moving further down the line, we have the Gondek EDC Executive Pry Bar. This anodization is done by me, which I always like to mention when I show this pry bar, because if you get it from them, they do offer anodization, and it's going to look a lot better than what I did. I just hit this with a torch, and I think it looks kind of cool, but not as good as if you order one directly from them. And so did want to get a pry bar in there. That one's nice and slim. And then back here we have the Patch Platoon GTFO. I don't think they sell this anymore, or it's sold out, but just kind of a little mini escape and evade. You got matches, a little glass breaker in there, some cordage, and a Smith & Wesson handcuff key. So a lot of different things. You can see the side of the tin itself has this honeycomb match striker there, and so really cool. Now this probably isn't the best place for it, because like if you were using this for the handcuff key, for example, why, if I were being held against my will, would I still have my pouch? But not a very well thought out kit here. Just kind of threw that in there to show items in there. Now, like I said, you can really take advantage of all these loops if you want to. You have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 of the 3/4 inch loops, bringing your total to 12. And if you wanted to, you can put bunch of chapstick size items like the Rovi Vaughn Aurora, an actual chapstick, a pocket pen, slim pry bars, and just fill this out with a bunch of slim items. But I feel like you don't get as kind of a well-rounded kit as if you do kind of just pick and choose and use some of the larger slots and take advantage of those. Now you can see the material in here is different. They don't list what that material is, but if you take a closer look, it looks very similar to all of the ripstop nylon we see in other packs, leading me to believe it's ripstop nylon. Those zippers you can also see are not labeled YKK, and then we have that standard zipper in here with the regular zipper pull instead of the silenced ones. And so again, you didn't really hear that rattling because everything laying on top of it keeps it laying nice and flat. But same kind of experience there. This is also not those reverse threaded, and so it does seem like a little bit more of a flimsy zipper, but still has been smooth so far. This fits a little bit pretty similar to the front pocket, maybe a little bit more. It has a little bit more give to it, and you can get it pretty wide, but again, you're gonna bulk out and kind of imprint on the internal and the exterior portion of the pack. Now in there, I just have a Zippo lighter with the soft flame butane insert, as well as a NUC from OEG EDC. This is the Keystone Light, his newest one in OD green. Just a small little NUC piece of pocket art. Really, really cool. Love the look of this one, but didn't put much else in here. The only other thing I wanted to mention about this is that both of these sides are extremely padded. It's really, really thick. If you pinch it, it feels like you're getting, you know, a 1/4 inch of padding. It's probably not quite a 1/4 inch, but it feels pretty thick and pretty significant. So your gear in here is going to be very protected. Now, maybe a little bit overprotected, but I like it. And the gear doesn't sit right on top of each other. There is a little bit of separation, again, similar to that Weta slider. So you have a little bit of separation, even if I didn't have that hank in there, but I still like to put it in there just kind of for peace of mind. But you do have a decent bit of separation. Now in terms of organizations, we already mentioned you get 12 of these 3/4 inch elastic loops. You also get 6 of the larger 1.5 inch wide elastic loops. And those ones are pretty thick elastic, so you're looking at, again, about 1.5 inch thick by 1.5 inch wide. And so decent bit of organization here. I like the layout of it. You know, like I said, it's kind of hard to take advantage of every single loop, and you want to put as much as you can in there, but don't feel obligated to. I think it loads out nicely when you try and skip a couple loops here and there. But overall, really solid pouch. I like the organization. You know, it would be cool if it can fit some larger items like you can fit in this pocket, but at that point, you know, if they reorganize this to do mostly vertical items and fit longer items, then it's going to be similar to almost every other large pouch out there like this. And so the All Good pouch and the DACA, I like them because of the orientation and the layout of their organization is just a little bit different. If I need that other style, I'll just get one from a different brand. But I like the organization on this one. Would love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments below. If you have any experience with Daily Carry Co., especially their knives, I'm kind of intrigued and want to check out some of their knives in the future. They have a lot of gravity knives and magnetic gravity knives that look really interesting to me. So maybe check those out in the future if my funds become available. I do have the titanium toothpick. I don't get a ton of use out of it, but it's cool for non-toothpick items. I always feel like it's going to damage my teeth with the titanium, but do have that. Don't have any of their pry bars. They have a very popular one that I think is like $12 or $13 on Amazon. You'll see it copied a ton because it's so popular, which is goes to show how popular it is, just because why copy such a budget-friendly item already. But really cool items. They do some really unique shaped pry bars as well. But once again, let me know what you think in the comments. I will link to as much as I can in the description, the pouch itself obviously, but as many of the other items. Some of these are just kind of random one-offs like this GTFO. Don't know if the meat tool is really readily available or not, or even this Richta, but I'll link to as much as I can in the description. But as always, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification button, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.